One could make the claim that the Kathleen Kennedy era of Star Wars has been a bit of a mixed bag. I'm not going to make that claim. I'm going to make the claim, as I have for the last several years, that Kathleen Kennedy's tenure as she has shepherded Star Wars into the new era has been just straight up bad. There is some exceptions to this. And then there's The Mandalorian and Grogu, a movie that I think defied my expectations in a lot of ways, which is a really good thing. Let's talk about this movie. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Before we get started, click on the red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new piece of content. As I'm watching this last night, I keep into my head hearing the word expectations. You have expectations of a Star Wars movie. You're gonna laugh, it's gonna be entertaining, it's gonna be moving, it's gonna look great, the music's gonna be great, and the characters are gonna be great. The problem is the Kathleen Kennedy era of Star Wars has not met those expectations. We have had, I would say, 3 fantastic pieces of Star Wars media. We've had Andor, and I've only seen season 1, and season 1 of Andor is fantastic. The Star Wars Jedi games, especially Jedi Survivor, which I think is probably the greatest Star Wars game ever made and legitimately one of the best pieces of the Star Wars universe anywhere, especially when it comes to the story, which is fantastic. The other one was Rogue One. I think Rogue One, up until this point, was far and away the best of the most recent Star Wars movies. Obviously, it was a prequel to The New Hope. I think the sequel trilogy was just complete garbage. The Rise of Skywalker is legitimately one of the very worst movies I have ever seen anywhere, in any era, in any year, in my entire life. The Last Jedi was trash, and I think that The Force Awakens has not aged particularly well. So the sequel trilogy, long story short, it was a complete and total failure across the board. The Book of Boba Fett was awful. And really, for me, the end of it was The Acolyte. The Acolyte is really when I checked out and said, I'm just done with Star Wars. It was okay in the beginning, and then they completely lost me at The Force was created by lesbian space witches. It's just really sad because The Mandalorian and Grogu is actually great. This movie is actually very, very good. I've only seen the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian because, again, I've checked out of Star Wars for the most part. But I was blown away by how much I enjoyed this movie. I came in thinking it was gonna suck or be mediocre, and I was completely wrong. I think this movie gets off to a fantastic start. We finally get the Mandalorian like kicking ass all over the place, whereas in the first 2 seasons, he just kind of gets beat up all the time and sometimes has like these flashes of brilliance. No, he's awesome in this. His relationship with Grogu is like really, really well fleshed out. There's a moment like kind of early in the film where he's running around and he's just got this green alien sitting on his shoulder, and I'm like, dude, this is so like just out there and far-fetched. And then he actually like puts Grogu to use, like sneaking into a building and opening a door. And I was like, okay, he's not just gonna be like a prop. He's gonna actually serve a purpose in the story and move things along. So I love the story here. I think introducing Rada the Hutt, and the Hutts are interesting because they're talked about constantly in the movies and the media, and we never see them. I mean, we get the occasional appearance from Jabba and some stuff going on in like Rebels and maybe in Clone Wars too. I didn't see all of Clone Wars, but we haven't gotten like a fleshed out story involving the Hutts. And in this, it's awesome. I think Rada the Hutt is probably my new favorite Star Wars character. Yes, the CGI is a little bit wonky. The performance was great. I thought he actually had like a story arc and a storyline. And Jon Favreau does deserve a lot of credit. He's been talking about making a Star Wars movie forever. It's been in the cards. This is clearly the one he ended up landing on, and it's a pleasant surprise. I really love The Mandalorian and Grogu. I think the action here, the ending, it's just tremendous. I loved every second of it. I will say this, and it is a problem with any Star Wars movie that doesn't have the opening crawl and that John Williams music. And my critique of this movie is the music. It's all over the place. You have like the very kind of Western Mandalorian cowboy theme, and it's like put in places where it doesn't really feel like it belongs. The music makes it feel a little bit more like the show, which I don't like. I think this works well as a standalone film by itself, but I kept kind of going back in my head to the show specifically because of the music. If it doesn't have John Williams' score, it's just never going to live up to the hype of a Star Wars film and what a Star Wars film should be generating. I would love to know what you think of this movie. Am I completely off base here? Maybe this is my favorite Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi. I certainly think better Star Wars movies have come out, especially when it comes to Rogue One. But as far as enjoyability, this made me feel like a kid again. And that is the first time I can say that is the case definitively since Return of the Jedi. So I was blown away. I love The Mandalorian and Grogu. I cannot wait to see it when it comes out on digital. This will be a day one purchase for me when it's available, and I was pleasantly surprised. Congratulations, Star Wars fans. You got a really good one here. The problem is, again, with expectations, nobody's going to see it. This movie's not going to make any money. It's not going to get a sequel. And they have just spent so much time letting us down. When they finally made a good movie, when they finally made a great movie, we just didn't care. Thank you so much for watching the review. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you next Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern.